30 minutes of the hour of 9 o'clock, so that means we are left with only 30 minutes to the next hour of 10 o'clock. Today is the State of the Nation address. Big day indeed in regards to what the Ugandans should expect the president to be talking about in relation to current situations, those are both social and economical, but as well as the political aspect of it. But besides that, our conversations here continue rotating around the agro-industrialization sector. But not only that, I should remind you that you should kickstart off your investment journey today with a platform that is powered by Altex East Africa, and that is none other than Zabu. Zabu says, my money, my future. How you invest in the government bonds and other securities is simple. Use the USSD code *292#. Registration, if you have no account yet, is by simply using your NIN, and in the next 24 hours you'll be able to kickstart off your investment with Zabu. But also remember, with the Zabu markets, they open at 8:15 a.m. in the morning, closing time is 3:15 p.m. East African Standard Time. You should as well note that the markets on the platform are only fully closed during the weekends and on public holidays. Zabu, my money, my future. Altex East Africa, do something new. And now we're getting back to our conversations here, and I'm still with Mrs. Dorothy Chimuli as we discuss more details in regards to the agro-industrialization growth and development. The next financial year will be kicking off 1st July 2023 till 30th June 2024. Big on the fact that when the disbursements will kick off in the first quarter as of July, you would wonder how some of the sectors that have been highly prioritized under this particular program-based budget. Agro-industrialization is one of the programs in there and one of the key priorities for the next financial year. And of course, here it is one that is creating lots of opportunities in regards to employment, exports, and value addition. And well, when you come to think of the fact that we're heading into the financial year, where should our priorities be in the agro-industrialization sector? What should we now focus on to say that we reach our targets, and then to see that at least this time around our performance grows and the sector develops? Heidi.
One of the areas I think that needs to be prioritized is research and development.
Okay.
Research and development is key to growth, and it comes out as a #1 priority. While we are looking at the next financial year, we must know what has been the performance of the previous year in terms of advancing the industry. And when I talk about that, we need to look at the critical issues. We need to get back to those discussions that were held in the various committees and say, okay, this is what the agro-industrialists tabled. To what extent have we been able to implement or meet their demand? Then there we can use that to inform within the sector the allocation to make significant improvements. I'll give an example. When I talk about the previous, there was an allocation, there was a performance. How did they allocate? And what was the significant improvement from the previous allocation? The moment you register that improvement, you can be informed on whether to still allocate in those areas or divert a part of that allocation to another area. We also know that to be able to export, we are talking about cash crops. We have known coffee to be one of those cash crops. We have known maize to be one of those cash crops. But even as an agroeconomy, we can't only stick to those. What other crops have come on board as cash crops to increase on the variety of the cash crops that we export? And how can we do that allocation? Another thing that we must look at when I talk about research and development is, one, what is the current utilization of the land size? You get it? Are we effectively utilizing that land? What are the soil types? Are the farmers being sensitized on producing those products that match the soil types in the regions in which they are? So research and development are key, and that is an ongoing activity that can inform allocation of resources to arouse significant impact.
Okay.
Now that is on the ground level. When it comes to agro-industrialization, and here we are talking about processing, do we know the number of industries that are currently engaged in agro-industrialization or in agro-processing? Do we know the performance of those industries? We talk about machinery to agro-industrialization. What kind of machines are being used? Are they approved? Do they qualify that when the products are finally out, they can meet the ISO standards? I talked about the packaging industry. What is the state of the industry in Uganda versus the expectations beyond Uganda? How have we addressed that constant subject to arouse that impact to be able to work on the socio-economic development of the nation? So the number one thing that policymakers, that all players in this area must look at is research and development, and that will inform all other areas to allocate significantly for significant output.
Okay, but my other concern is about market access and the competitiveness within the agro-industrialization sector so far. And my worry with the market access is how far has government gone to at least create a stable market, or at least a ready market for the private sector? Or is it entirely a one-man's battle where the private sector player has to always juggle through in order to meet this market demands and as well look for market themselves, especially when it comes to the exporting at the time?
One of those significant milestones during the National Reference Group meetings on agro-industrialization, which was about over 6 years ago, was the BUBU policy, the Buy Uganda, Build Uganda. That policy helped most Ugandan products to be accepted on the shelves of supermarkets, where supermarket owners and hotels were also tasked to embrace national products. So yes, they have been a milestone. They have been the outcome of that policy, and it was embraced. That's why you see that today in most supermarkets, they are Ugandan products. But the question is, when we talk about competitiveness, are we competitive? I will not say that we are. No, I will say that we are not yet competitive. And why aren't we competitive? Because we are not addressing those critical factors that would lead us to competitiveness. Give an example in price. You get it. The moment you get on board, there are national obligations that most of these industries have to meet. You get it? There is no grace period where you say, you know what, I have come on board, let me do something to be able to reach to that point and significantly impact the nation. Immediately you come on board and have your company registered, obligations start flowing in. And some of those things hinder performance. In terms of, Heinz will come in and sell its ketchup at 4,000 shillings. But because of these obligations that we must meet that are everywhere, KCCA, URA, URSB, UNBS, you get it? You find that you will have an external product coming in at 4,000 shillings, but the Ugandan product has to be sold at 6,000 shillings. If you sell less than that, you're not making any profit, meaning that you are limping or you are surviving as we had said it. So competitiveness, we are not yet there. Packaging, I have already told you. We cannot export in plastics, but people are receiving external products or imports in plastics. You get it? And then you ask yourself, how are we, even the packaging industry, those that are still coming in plastics, surpass the quality of what Uganda is producing? If you go and look at the packaging industries, go and look at all the packaging industries we have in Uganda, and you ask yourself, out of all these packaging industries, if they require us to export in glass, why isn't there one glass packaging industry in Uganda? And when you address that kind of situation, I once was told, you must accept the environment in which we operate as it is. We can't do much. And you are telling me that that is the officer you have fronted to advance agro-industrialization in this country? So the issue of implementation versus the issue of mindset. Who are the drivers of this agro-industrialization process? Okay. What is their mindset in driving ahead? How are they advancing the cause of agro-industrialization to reach that level? I think those are some of the challenges that we are currently facing as agro processors, as farmers, that you take up an office, you are comfortable in that office, but you fail to tap into the realities of your performance in that office.
So that means we need to focus as well as in regards to the people who are overseeing on behalf of the government.
That is a very, from my experience and from the discussions that I have had, I will firmly say that the mindsets of the drivers either has to be changed, or they must change to those that appreciate the industry to be able to drive us to that level of agro-industrialization.
Wow. I think in regards to what you look at, our total export value of priority agricultural commodities in billions of dollars performed at 70%, and this is a value against the 1.818 billion target. And like Mrs. Dorothy has mentioned here, there is one issue in regards to the statistics, and what the overseers focus more on is about just painting a good picture of our country, maybe looking at the exports, but rarely take time to understand what is really happening on ground. And now this brings me to the fact that today President Museveni will be addressing the country in regards to the state of the nation. What do you think should be some of his key, points, more so when it comes to agro-industrialization, or what do you think should be included in the next financial year?
I think that, one, I'm looking forward to listening to that address, especially in the area of agriculture. And one of the things that I wouldn't want the president to miss out is what I have just highlighted, research and development. But not just highlighting it as research and development, but going to the depth of what he really needs to talk about. You get it? Understanding and appreciating the environment and making sure that there is a commitment to addressing the findings of the research outcome. Another thing I want the president to talk about is, in the next financial year, how are they going to address the issue of packaging? Because it is key. I believe that even yourself, if you went to a supermarket, the one thing you're going to look at is packaging. When you are making a choice to pick a product, let him address the issue of packaging. Number two, let him address the extent towards which the BUBU policy has to be implemented. True, we have our products on the market and they are thriving, but why are we still lagging behind? Because we have not yet penetrated the market to those significant levels that we should to arouse that impact. And I'll give you an example. How many agriculturalists have you had who have grown to that significant level of the Mukwanos and the Murwanas? I always pose that question.
They are the notable names that we have.
Those are the ones we have. Are we increasing?
The others in the sugar industries, maybe.
Now we leave those huge, because the impact we are talking about is the medium.
Okay.
We are talking about the medium. You get it?
There are very few.
The small to get to the medium, and the medium to get to the large.
We have.
Now, why aren't we registering that level of recognition. You get it? It is because we are not truly looking at what matters. We are truly looking at those already recognized, but not trying to lift up those
that are still coming up.
That are still, I'm talking about on a national level.
Okay.
Why? Because there are so many private institutions that are doing their best to have that impact. But on a national level, we must register that impact, that we are together and we are thriving together. Another thing that we must work on is literacy. You cannot get to industrialization when the levels of illiteracy are still high.
People really need to get skilled up and understand.
Need to get skilled up. They need to appreciate the importance. There were days when people went into agriculture because they didn't have jobs. But now they want to turn it into true businesses and true professions. That's why you find that universities are putting up colleges of strictly agriculture. That is the first thing. But even then, besides training these students, how are these colleges being utilized? Are they funded by government? Because those are one of the drivers that His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni needs to address, the linkage between these colleges of agriculture and the national expectations. Another thing that the president needs to talk about is the issue of accountability. Accountability and the responsibility of all parties towards that point that Uganda wants to get to in regard to the industry. Another thing that I think needs to be addressed is the level of professionalism and the implementation of that knowledge. We cannot talk about the limitations I've talked about is the lack of knowledge. And I'll say you can have a minister seated in office and all they talk about is the reports.
Yes, the statistics that they have.
They have not done research. Let me tell you, I was attending a high-profile conference. I was listening to it on TV. And this minister comes on. Unfortunately, they had not given him her script. Let me tell you, it was total. You know, there are external people there. They have come. She had no script. She had nothing to talk about apart from wasting a few minutes of people's time. Why not bring people who are practical? Why not bring people who are knowledgeable, that even without a script, they appreciate the sectors that they are driving? So I think that issue there of knowledge, professionalism, and bringing people on board who have an experience in that particular area is something that he needs to talk about. When we are looking for jobs, they ask for experience.
Yeah.
Little will you get a job when you have no experience. Why can't that be the same procedure that is being used when they are putting people in these offices? Skill, experience is what is going to drive this economy, but not ignorance and just driving with titles.
Okay, and now that brings us to the end of our conversation here. Very huge conversation rotating around agro-industrialization, but of course we shall be building up more on the same matter. Your final remarks as we're winding up with our conversation though?
My final remarks is that despite the fact that we still have hiccups, I know that as a nation we are trying and endeavoring to get to that point. But the moment we get out of accumulating dusts on our policies, on our agreements, and get down to work, that is the moment we shall start registering that level of industrialization that will put the nation, not just in words, but practically on the map of the world. So as those that are in the industry, keep going, keep moving. Our voices are heard, and that time will come when the actual implementation will be done, that we shall register that significant improvement as the drivers of the agro sector in Uganda.
Well, and of course, the sector is one of those that is growing so immensely, and you would definitely accept and agree with the fact that, one, the policymakers really need to understand what is happening on ground, besides focusing on the reports that are being filed. every other year. Because at times you get to realize that some of them are not updated, and it's creating a very huge concern on besides the fact that what is happening on ground at times is different from what is being reported by the ministries available in the country. But of course, agro-industrialization is what we were focusing on. Today, our entire broadcast will be rotating around the State of the Nation address at 11 a.m. I'll be right back here as we dig deeper in understanding what is happening in the country, the current state of the nation, both from the social and economic aspect. Not only that, as well as a little bit of the political part of it, but mainly focusing on the business matters. Until 2 p.m. when the president will be coming up to address the nation, you'll be getting all the details here on Smart 24 TV. So keep your eyes glued here. Remember to as well download the Smart Digital app, where you can definitely stream Smart 24 TV wherever you are. Then as well catch up with Smart FM and NBS Cordell, where you can easily listen to radio anywhere, anytime. But also remember to follow us on our socials. Twitter is Smart24TV now, Instagram is Smart24TV, and then also remember our website is www.smart24.tv/news for both local and international news that is coming in from the business perspective of it. But as I'm signing out, I should remind you that investment should be part of you every day. *292# is the USSD code that you need to use to kickstart off your investment, and the platform that you'll be ushered into for the MTN subscribers is Zabu. Zabu says my money, my future. Registration is as simple as you can get it. With just your NIN, you'll be able to register, and in the next 24 hours, you'll be able to kickstart off your investment journey. At 8:15 a.m. till 3:15 p.m. is when you will be able to invest in government bonds and securities. The minimum amount of investment is 15,000 Ugandan shillings. Zabu, my money, my future, and it's powered by Otex East Africa, which says do something new. I'm Jerome Paul Sonko, and I've been with Mrs. Dorothy Chimoli, who is the Managing Director, D&M International, D&M Group International Limited, and of course we're discussing agro-industrialization in our Business Insight this morning. Have a good day. Coming up is Financial Markets with Anthony Sebale, but stick around to Smart 24 TV. You'll be getting more details in regards to the State of the Nation address. Good morning.